Good evening. Hello, hello. Welcome back. Most people think that stress is just an emotional response. But what a lot of people don't know is that stress can actually have some pretty serious effects on the body. We're going to talk about that in this video, on this session, in this episode. And we're going to discuss some ways that you can start managing your stress. So if you're interested, hang around. Let's learn something together. Let's go for it. If you're new to the channel, if you're new to me, I am Dr. Dwayne Wood. That's Wood with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. And here on our channel, we help to educate, we help to empower, and we help to encourage you to take charge of your health and your life, avoid complications, live the life you've always wanted, and go to the next level. Welcome. You've caught us. We are on day number 30 in our live every day in August. That's right. We've been going live every day in August, talking about designing a new version of ourselves, designing a new me, a better version. That's what we've been doing for the entire month so far. We are on day 31 and we are almost at the end. That's right. One more day to go. So exciting. If you've been following us, if you missed any of the videos, you want to go back, make sure you go back and make sure you watch those, because it has been an amazing month so far, right? So this is day number 30. Go back, watch some of those, and get yourself up to speed. If you are getting some benefit from the videos that we're doing, go ahead and give us a thumbs up, give us a like this video, share it with somebody that you know, because we're talking about stress today, right? And that is going to be just exciting for them to kind of get into this series. If you've not already done so, go ahead and subscribe to our channel. Give us a like I said, press that button so that you will be able to get you to hear when we do put more content up. That's hit the bell. Also, if you're new, go ahead and put new in the comments with a colon after the Q if you have questions. So new in the comments if you're new, because we'd love to welcome you and let you know that you are welcome to this neighborhood as we grow the channel. If you have questions, put the questions in the chat, and with a Q and a colon, we'll know that that's something that we need to get to. So just so excited. Guys, gals, I have grown so much this month as I have had these conversations with you, as we've been doing this together. So this is no exception. Tonight we've got a doozy of a topic. We're talking about stress and how to manage stress, and we'll get to that in just a minute. So as we go through the rest of the next couple of days, right, I want you to be making sure that you catch up with the videos, right? We've got a new season that's coming that we are excited about, the things that we're going to be doing as we move into the new season, right? So thanks. All right. So let's get to it. We all deal with it. Some people more than others. Stress comes from a lot of different things, from work, from school. It comes from our families. It comes from our friends, our relationships. And it can really take a toll on our mental and physical health if you don't manage it well. So the question that we're going to ask is, what is stress and how do we deal with it? Now, here's the thing. We can take several people, put them in the same situation, and they respond differently. So what that says is it's not the situation sometimes, it's how the person responds to the stress. Now, granted, we cannot get rid of all stress. Let me just say that, right? We can't get rid of all stress, but there's some things that we can do to help to minimize its effect. So the first question is, what is stress, and what is this stress response that everybody talks about, right? So stress is the body's way of preparing us for some perceived danger. That's the simplest form. It's the way that the body prepares us for some perceived danger. Let me give you an example. Let's assume that you are, and I'm going to choose a crazy example. You're walking down the street and a tiger starts chasing you. You want your body to kick into gear to get you away from the tiger, or you become, yes, right, tiger food. And so the body's ability to rev up, and I think about this, I'm a big Star Trek fan, right? And if you're a Star Trek fan, you remember the time when something happened, when they first got out there, right? They got the ship and they're out there and something happens and they had to go through and they had to activate all these systems. They have to activate the shields. They have to activate the weapons. They have to activate, right? And at some point, they got this command. And the command was red alert. And when the red alert command went into gear, right? When somebody says that, when the captain says that, Picard or Kirk, right? Or even later on, we've got Cisco and Janeway and Archer, right? Remember Archer, that's when red alert started to come into phase. But when the red alert command was given, the entire system automatically went into this mode of protection, right? The shields came up automatically. The weapons came up automatically. All things around the ship went into gear so that they were ready. And I think about that when I think about the stress response. When we see a danger, we're falling, we're hurt, a tiger's chasing us, right? There's some danger around us. The body kicks into gear and prepares us to take care of it. The stress response is controlled by the sympathetic nervous system. It's a part of the body that is automatic. This part is responsible for automatically regulating functions like heart rate, blood pressure, and so forth. So we don't actually have to think about it. So we see danger and boom, red alert, the body kicks into gear. When it kicks into gear, it releases hormones, adrenaline, cortisol, which are responsible for getting the body ready, as I just said. We have an increased heart rate, increased blood pressure. All of this is with the intention that we've got to do something, right? Because if I'm getting ready to run, right, you've got to have heard of the fight or flight response. And actually it's fight, flight, or freeze, right? Those are the three ones, fight, flight, or freeze. Even we're running or we're fighting, and in extreme cases, we freeze. So if we're going to run, if we're going to fight, we need increased heart rate. We need increased blood pressure because we need more energy. We need more nutrients that are coming to those muscles, right? So the blood flow has to go up. The heart rate has to go up because the heart has to pump more. Increased respiration, right? So we're right getting more oxygen in, right? Because we're about to do something. It causes breakdown of fat and protein because we need energy. The liver releases sugar, right? Because remember, we are gearing up. So all these things are going on whenever we have a stress response. These hormones are responsible for giving us that energy that we need to deal with that stressor. So, tiger chasing down the street. The tiger goes away and everything goes back into where it should be, right? So that's the stress response. We perceive something, we see it, and let me take away the perceive, right? We see a danger. The body kicks into gear. The stress response goes up. We get out of the danger. And then the body goes back to normal. Once the stress response, or once the stressor is gone, a real danger. Now, the interesting thing is that as human beings, we have the ability to not just respond to actual danger. But we have the ability to respond to perceived danger. So, for example, the tiger chased us on 4th and Main, right? That's the street. And now we've gotten away from the tiger. Well, tomorrow we're walking down 4th and Main, and our brain says, hey, this is the same place where the tiger chased us yesterday. And so the same stress response can occur, not because there is a danger right there, but because we are now perceiving, we're remembering. So there's not actually danger. It's just our memory. Yeah. Right. So we all get these stress response from time to time. And it can actually be helpful, right? To get away from the tiger. It helps us get through difficult and challenging situations. Stress occurs when the demands that are placed on us exceed our ability to cope. So we go into the stress response. The same thing as though we saw the tiger. This happens when we're juggling too many tasks, dealing with difficult situation, or simply trying to meet a tight deadline. It's no secret that stress is a part of life. The problem is that a lot of us live our lives in a constant state of stress. You remember that memory? We perceive something. There's not actually a stressor there. There's some memory that we have of something that happened. There's some anticipation that we have of something that's going to happen. So no longer is it just the tiger that's there, but we are now dealing with and responding to things that our brains have created. We feel anxious when we're overwhelmed. We feel like we're on edge. All of those are experiences that we go through. So chronic stress. This stress can take a toll on the body. Because remember all the hormones that just came out, right? We talked about adrenaline. We talked about cortisol. We talked about all the things that are going on in the body all around. Increased heart rate, increased blood pressure, increased sugar in the body. So what do you think those things can do? So if our heart is going like that continually, right? Prolonged exposure to these hormones, it leads to headaches. It leads to anxiety, insomnia, depression, increased sugar, increased insulin, increased weight. We can't sleep. Right? So you see what happens under increased stress. Now here's a question. Do you guys know what happens if you go to the doctor and you have an infection, right? They give you antibiotics and sometimes they'll give you steroids. You got bronchitis, you got sinusitis. They give you steroids. Why do they give steroids? Because steroids decrease the inflammation. One of the side effects of steroids is that it can also decrease the body's ability to fight, right? Because that's what inflammation is. So if we're constantly in a state of stress, we have constant elevation of cortisol, right? That's one of the hormones we talked about. What does that do to our immune system? Remember, our immune system is what fights infections. So if we are in a constant state of stress and the cortisol is elevated, our immune system now is downregulated, and so now we're more prone to infection. Our mental clarity and creativity suffers. So cortisol, one of the things that cortisol does is that cortisol actually helps you forget. Yeah. Because if you're running from the tiger, the body doesn't want you to remember that you've got a family at home. The body doesn't want you to remember in that moment that you have a pot on the fire. It doesn't want you to remember that you have somebody coming over to the house, right, to fix the roof. Because all it wants to do is get away from the tiger. And so the way it's designed, part of what cortisol does is it decreases the memory. So if you are in a constant state of stress, what happens to your mental clarity? What happens to your creativity? What happens to your memory? Remember, all those things are affected when we are in a constant state of stress. So it's not just that we have that response that helps us get away from danger, but there are changes that are going on in the body, if prolonged, that can cause damage. And that's where stress causes a problem. In the acute, sure, yeah, get me away from the tiger, right? Get me out of the burning building. Get me away from that threat. But if we're constantly there, there's a book that I read and it was one of my favorite. It's called Why Do Zebras Not Get Ulcers? Why do zebras not? What do you think? Why do zebras not get ulcers? Well, zebras don't get ulcers because if zebras are out there and a lion is chasing them, one of two things happens, right? Either they don't run fast enough and the lion catches them, which means they're gone, or they get away from the lion and everything is good. And the zebra doesn't tomorrow think, hey man, I wonder if that line is around that corner. The zebra doesn't think that. So there's no prolonged stress response to the zebra. So either I got away or I didn't get away. Just one or two. Those are the two things. And if I get away, I'm good. But once again, as human beings, we have that memory. And that memory is sometimes what gets us. So how do you manage stress? How do you manage stress? Let's talk about it. So number one, in order to manage stress, you want to identify the source of your stress. You want to identify the source of your stress. Fear of the unknown is one of the most common causes of stress. Because we're anticipating. We put our experiences and our memories into, hey, I wonder what's going to happen. So it's once again not an actual threat or danger. It is a perceived threat or danger. And so identifying the source of the stress, knowing what it is. Okay, this is why I'm stressed. This is what's causing it. If it's your job, it could be your family, it could be your finances, but being aware of what it is. Sometimes, do you know, have you ever seen the movies? Or I'm sure you've been to the movies. And, you know, somebody's going into that house and you're in the theater or you're watching the movie on TV and you're like, or on your device now, and you're like, don't go into the house. Don't. And they play that music, right? Then that eerie music. What are they building up? Anticipation, right? That something is going to happen. And even though you are not in the movie or you're not in the situation, you are anticipating. And in the movie, somebody jumps out of the closet, whoa, right? And you are in the theater and you jump. Why do you jump? Right, because it was the anticipation. You weren't sure what was going on. You weren't sure what was going to happen. So we first identify the source of the stress. Identifying it. Okay, this is what it is. Putting a face to it, putting substance to it. And sometimes that itself decreases the stress. The next is to make a plan. Make a plan. So once you know what the stress is, now let's figure out how to deal with it. The other place that people find stress is when they feel like they're out of control. So one is, I don't know what's going to happen, what's coming. And two is, I don't feel like I have a plan. I don't know what to do. So make a plan to address whatever the problem is. Identify that stress. Are there certain triggers that causes you to be stressed? Certain situation, certain people that are stressful to be around. Yeah, that's a whole nother, that's a whole nother conversation, right? So make a plan, identify what those triggers are. Identify the patterns. Do you typically go somewhere? Is it that you are up late at night and that causes stress because you're not getting the rest, right? All these things come into play. Every time you're on that project, every time you have to travel to that location, every time you have to be with that coworker, every time you have a conversation about that subject in your family, right? How do we deal with those? Let's make a plan, right? Okay, we're not going to go there. We're not going to travel there. I need help with this particular project. All of those things, right, is what we want to do. We want to make a plan. The next thing is, right, we want to set aside some me time. Set aside some me time. Oh, this one I'm going to have fun with. Let's get into it, right? So set aside me time. And let's talk about some numbers. 1,440 minutes in a day. Yep. 1,440 minutes. And most of us aside from sleeping, the sleep that we do get, give all of that away to somebody else. Yeah. So there's no time for us to sit in our space. There's no time for us to rejuvenate. There's no time for us to relax. So find some time dedicated each day to do something that relaxes and rejuvenates you. Take some of that 1,440 minutes. I tell people, you should at least have 5 minutes. People say, I don't have time. Okay, take 5 minutes. I'll tell you, when I'm stressed, and the folks in our office will tell you, there are times where I just stop. It's like I'm frozen. I just stop. And in that moment, I am saying to my brain, I'm saying to my heart, I'm saying to my body, okay, let's pause right here. Notice I'm in the middle of it and I'm pausing. Find some me time. Me time includes sleeping. Woo. One of the best ways to deal with stress is to get good rest. Good quality restorative rest. Because when you do that, so many things improve. When you go to sleep, when you're getting good rest, your cortisol level goes down. Your adrenaline levels goes down. When those go down, your insulin level goes down. So we start to possibly lose weight. The blood sugar goes down. The heart rate slows. The blood pressure goes down. We get mental clarity. Our memories improve. Notice what we're doing. We are, by just sleeping, we are undoing a lot of the things we just talked about. Learn to relax. Practice relaxation techniques like deep breathing. Concentrate on your heart rate. Concentrate on your breathing. Learn to meditate. Learn yoga. Learn ways to calm your mind. So that when stress occurs, you're better able to deal with it. It's going to help you reduce your overall stress level and make it so much easier to deal with things that come up, which they will come up. Keep a journal. Right? This is all under me time. Right? That's why I say I'm going to have fun with this one. Keep a journal and write down, right? First of all, things that stress you. Write down how you deal with them. Now, one of the things that happens is we talked about memory that causes stress. Sometimes forgetting causes stress. Because we dealt with a situation in a certain way, and because we didn't record it, we don't totally remember. We can have an idea, oh yeah, I think I may have done this, right? That's why journaling is so important, because you can go back and say, oh yeah, the last time this happened, this is how I dealt with it. Practice mindfulness. Practice mindfulness. Mindfulness says, I'm here at this moment. I'm not worried about what happened, and I'm not anticipating what's coming. Right now, I'm okay. And even in the most difficult circumstances, and let me hasten to say here, some of you who are watching this, you're in some pretty sticky situations. So this is not in any way to minimize what you're going through or minimize the thought process that is there. That's not what I'm talking about. But all of what we're talking about is how do we begin dealing with that? You may be in a situation you can't get out of. But you can still work on yourself. You can't change the situation, but you can change your response to the situation. So practice mindfulness. Set aside time for yourself. Set aside time for yourself. The next, don't sweat the small stuff. Don't sweat the small stuff. Wow. Learn to let go of little things that don't really matter. In the grand scheme of things, yeah. I can't even find it. Suppose my wife walks in here right now and say, "Hey, you know what? I think we should change the color of the wall. We should change that lamp. We should change, we need to get Buddha in here." Or that's a Buddha. Get Yoda out of here. I could get all bent out of shape. But does it really matter? Right? If Yoda disappears, right? Maybe I'll be a little sad, right? But does it matter in the scheme of things? Is that worth all the craziness that happens if I go into that stress response? Holding on to resentments and anger. Somebody does something and you are all balled up. They moved on with their lives and you're still there. It makes you feel worse in the long run and it causes stress. So don't sweat the small stuff. Simplify your life. One of the best ways to reduce stress is to streamline your life and get rid of unnecessary commitments, possessions. I can't tell you, we moved into this house and there were boxes of things that we hadn't seen in I don't know how long. And we brought them with us. And then we had to find a place to put them. The less clutter you have in your life, the less stressed you'll feel. So if you walk into your office and your office has stuff everywhere, mountains of papers and boxes, automatically just walking into that situation, your brain says, it goes into conniption. Don't sweat the small stuff. Exercise regularly is the next one. So we're talking about how to manage stress. Exercise regularly. Physical activity is a great way to reduce pent up stress and tension. Plus, it has all sorts of benefits on your health, right? Increasing that heart rate, increasing the oxygenation, using the muscles. It helps with weight. You get those endorphins that people talk about. You should aim for about 30 minutes of moderate exercise most days of the week. All of those things. So as you're running, right? If you're running, if you're lifting weights, as you're walking, you're jump roping, right? I mean, play a sport, right? So all those things, it takes your mind off of the stress for one. It gets the body moving, which we've already said that's a great way to deal with so many things. Go back and watch some of the other videos that we've done, right? Exercise is in there. So moderate exercise most days of the week will help to decrease the stress. Increase oxygenation, gives you more energy, right? Get that blood flowing and pumping, get the heart moving. One of the best ways to manage stress. Connect with loved ones. Oh, this is another place, right? That we need to just spend some time. We need to, right, put our anchor and just hang out here. Connection. We are built for community. Now, in our world, in our lives, the way we have patterned our lives, it seems like, okay, yeah, I do this on my own. And many people, many of us function well. The question is, are we functioning optimally? And if we're connecting, that connection that we have, that bond that we have with people, the ability to know that there are people that they're there for me in the midst of my stress, in the midst of my situation, that support that we get, it helps us during difficult times. So make time for social activities. Even when you're feeling busy or stressed, you'll be glad you did it. The body produces other hormones when we are connecting, when we're bonding. Hormones that help to mitigate stress. Beautiful, beautiful. Love it, love it, love it. And then, talking once again about how to manage stress, get professional help if needed. Get professional help if needed. Don't be afraid to seek counseling or therapy if your stress level is becoming unmanageable. Many of us, we have no problems going to the doctor. You know, my leg hurts, my back hurts. I've got sinusitis. I've got, bronchitis. I'm coughing. I'm feeling weak. None of that. Boom, let's go to the doctor. We show up in the ER. We show up in the urgent care. But when it comes to stress, oh yeah, I got it. I know it's there. We're going to deal with it. And recently I came up with this thought. And it's this. If you walk into your house, and when you walk in, the floor is flooded, right? There's water. Not many of us would just say, okay, yeah, well, I guess it's there. It'll be all right for a while. Right? We didn't say that. We'd figure out, okay, first of all, where's it coming from? Let's stop that. Right? Let's stop the source of the flood. And then now let's clean up the water. But we think nothing of being in our lives where the stress, whatever the situation, is causing a flood in our lives. And we're like, yeah, we'll deal with that later. You got to be proactive. Remember, we're talking about designing a new us, a new life, going to the next level. You got to deal with it. Sometimes it's going to be painful. Let me say that, right? Let me jump in and just add that. It's going to take some work. It's going to take some thought. It may take some effort because your life is not going to allow you to all of a sudden change what you've been doing. Remember, you've got all these patterns that you've been in for however long you've been doing it. The way you've been managing, the way you've been managing stress, because we're not managing stress. We're letting it happen. But the way we've been letting stress happen to us, the body is going to resist because we're going to fall into those same patterns. And so we need someone that is going to be able to walk alongside us, to help us, aside of us, and help us to manage. Say, have you thought about this? Have you thought about it this way? Is this a different way to think about it? Have you thought about doing this? Sometimes when we're in the situation, we can't see it. I often talk about stress in this way. So many of you've, created, fire in the fireplace, or you've grilled, or you've been camping. Anyway, so wood fire. And the fire is almost burned out, right? Or it's actually, the fire's gone. But we have those little embers, right? Those little orange, just like my shirt. Those little orange glowing embers that are in the fire. So it's not a blaze. There's no active flame. But what happens if you walk over with a teaspoon maybe of lighter fluid, kerosene, gas, and we throw it on those embers? What happens to it? Boof, right? We get a fire. Even with those little embers that were there. And our lives, sometimes there's not anything ablaze, right? There's no big fire in our life. Nothing's burning up. Nothing is burning down. Nothing's falling apart. We got those little embers that are in there. Just little situations. And stress, think of it like the lighter fluid that's in that spoon. We walk over with a teaspoon of stress and we dump it on our lives. Guess what happens? Boof. We get a flame. And to think that Oh yeah, this is going to be okay. What does okay mean? Do we let our lives burn down because we're afraid to get help? There's no shame in getting professional help when you need it. Oh yeah, you can do it. So how do we manage our stress? How do we manage stress? Identify the source of your stress. Make sure you know it. Anticipation is a big stressor. Make a plan. Sometimes feeling out of control causes stress. Set aside time for you. Set aside me time. Use one of those or several of those 1,440 minutes that you see during the day. Don't sweat the small stuff. Something's not important. Exercise regularly. Get good rest. I'll say that set aside time for me. Connect with loved ones and get professional help if you need it. It's the 5-letter word. Is it 5? 6-letter word. That can ruin. It's the 6-letter word that can ruin your day, your week, or even your year. We've all been there before. The heart's racing. The palms are sweaty. You get that thing in your stomach. Your mouth. You got that cotton mouth. And it feels like you're about to lose your mind. Fortunately, there are things you can do to manage your stress and take control of your life. Remember, we are no longer letting life happen to us. We are in control. And part of being in control is managing stress. The designing a better version of ourselves, the designing a new us, means that we are managing stress. I'm so excited that you came tonight for this episode. Beautiful. Love this one. How to manage stress. If you're getting good benefit, if you're getting some good stuff from the videos we're watching, first of all, like this one, give us a thumbs up. Let your family or friends know. Send them the video. Send them the link. Come on back. Tomorrow is day number 31. We've been doing this all month, 30 days so far, designing a better version of ourselves. This is Dr. Dwayne Wood. That's Wood with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. And here on our channel, we help to educate, we help to empower, and we are helping to encourage you to take charge of your health, take charge of your life, avoid complications. If you would like to connect with us, if you would like to work with us, go to our website, DwayneWoodMD.com. DwayneWoodMD.com, and hit the button that says there, sign up for a consult. Connect with me on social media. You'll see it there on the screen, Dwayne Wood MD, and all of our social media platforms. That's LinkedIn, Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, all of those. You can reach us. If you have some comments, go ahead and drop them in the comments here, or send them to our email, or DM us in one of our social media platforms. Love that you're here. See you tomorrow night. Let's get on out of here. Have a great one, everybody. Bye-bye.